Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us for our very first web series episode of In Mom's Kitchen with Jake and Jana.
I'm a little nervous.
As we mentioned in our promo video, which I'm sure you saw, my husband, Chef Jake, is a professional chef, and me, Jana Brunchley, I'm your spokesperson and host extraordinaire. So today in our first episode, we're going to talk to you a little bit about spices and how to keep things spicy in the kitchen.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so when we first started talking about this, my mom had we're actually in her kitchen, and she had a very big influence on us deciding to do this, being really excited about it. We'd always wanted to do something together because, our skill sets match up. And during this time of COVID, what we really want to do is we want to keep sharp on our skills and our abilities. We don't want to kind of be complacent and just, we want to stay current. And so by offering our skills on camera for you, hopefully you benefit from us continuing to work on ourselves and our crafts so we can become better chefs, better hosts. And so we're really excited. It's
a way for us to take those decades of experience that we have in cooking and entertaining and me being in front of the camera. It just helps us to hone our skills a little bit better. So you benefit from that, and we thank you for being there and watching us.
Thank you. Every subscriber, everyone that joined, we're just grateful for you to be here. And like I said, Mom was really the one who kind of sparked this whole thing. And so today, there's no better thing, I think, to start off than building flavor. And she said, spices. Teach us how to work with spices, because that's something that so many people are dying to know. And she shared a really great story about my grandmother, who, when I was a kid, I remember Grandma was just a great cook. Anything she would cook for us was so full of flavor and was so, she had different levels of things. And I remember that, especially in Mom's cooking as well. And she told this awesome story about growing up, her mom only used salt and pepper to season food. And one day she was at a friend's house and she saw that her friend's spice rack with all these great spices. And she asked, what are these? How do we work with these? And her friend showed her and really kind of inspired her. And that's really what made my grandmother a great cook. And so, I can't think of a better place to start than on spice blending, because one thing that chefs need to do their entire careers, and what we strive for every day, is learning how to take an ingredient, a flavor profile, whether it's pepper or whether it's paprika or lemongrass, whatever it is, and understand how to build from that core and really how to make things come alive through use of spices. And so honestly, what better first episode to have? And so we actually want to break this episode up into two, because it's so much to talk about and so many things we can share with you that we thought one episode is not going to be enough. So the first episode today that we're going to do is we're just going to basically talk about spice blending in general and what it is and how to build flavor, and give you some tools, because again, one thing that we always want you to get from our shows is content. We want you to get ideas, and we want you to, every time you click stop on our YouTube channel, we want you to just be full of excitement and full of ideas
feel it inspired.
Inspired, yes.
We want to inspire you.
And you know what? That's all the two of us want to do. That's all we always want to do. Whenever we go to work, I get the opportunity every once in a while to film her, doing her little audition tapes.
We're self-taping auditions at home. So I have my first cameraman here. He's also art director, lighting, script supervisor. He's all those things.
Well, I'm learning, and you'll see. I'm hoping you'll see the progression in our videos here on YouTube as well. As we continue to do this, we'll get better and better at it. But I watched the passion behind what she does and how exciting. The other day she was trying to do an ad for a blanket. You know what I mean? And the blanket was she was supposed to show how excited she was about being in this blanket. And it's like, I felt how comfy she was in that blanket. And then for me, when I go to work, I want to give people flavors and things with food that they've never had before. And why not be able to do those type of things at home? And so there's a resource that I have that anytime I give a cooking class or anytime I give any type of instruction whatsoever, I always start with this resource, and it's called the Flavor Bible. The Flavor Bible is written by a couple, and it's James, they've been recognized by the James Beard Association. They've been recognized by the New York Times. Amazing book. They also, one of their earliest versions, like I said, we just moved here from Washington State to stay with family, and so all of our stuff is still kind of in transit or in boxes, and so the Flavor Bible is a great reference, so look it up. But their first book that they put out was called Culinary Artistry. This is a great resource to have because it's unlike any cookbook that you've ever had. It's simply a listing of ingredients. Now, I don't want to get too close, and you can kind of get a basic idea, but the idea behind this book is it's simply ingredients and what pairs with those ingredients. So I think the great example I always do in cooking demonstrations is think about combinations, flavor combinations, and how they got together. Pork chops and applesauce. I mean, who in the world would have thought to put pork and apples together? But it just works. And as a chef, we spend years going over flavor profiles, learning how to put things together so they are harmonious when you're cooking, right? So we don't want anything that kind of puts you off or sets you off. This book, and also the Flavor Bible, it's just simply this encyclopedia-size thick book full of ingredients, and so you can learn how to really pair things. So if you open up your refrigerator here at Mom's kitchen or here in your kitchen at home, and you see you have chicken or you have lots of pork or all these things, you can simply open up to chicken and pork and you can see what ingredients pair with those things, so you can start to build your menus, start to build your ideas. Then you go to the grocery store, or you dive into your cabinets, and then you create from there.
So can you give us a little bit of an example? I love chicken. I could eat chicken every day of the week and be perfectly content.
Right.
So what would you say, or according to this book, what would be a natural pairing that you would pair something with?
That's a great thing. So again, look at this. Look at chicken.
Wow.
The listing of ingredients, all of these things that pair well with chicken. And so you know that this are years of experience of people who've gone through and done this for you. And things that are highlighted in bold. For instance, they a lot of suggestions.
Cream.
Tarragon, cream, mushrooms, mustard. Great ways to build flavor. So again, pick up the Flavor Bible or Culinary Artistry. There are such great resources. And so basically, you can take that a step further when you're starting to think about spice blends. So my mom, I have been so impressed. We've been here cooking tonight. Tonight we made tacos.
Al pastor. I made my pineapple salsa. We had some Cuban black beans and some Mexican street corn with it. And
I was kind of responsible for seasoning the broth that we cooked the pork in. And Mom has these. She had Mexican oregano and very specific things. She had cinnamon sticks and all these great flavors in her cabinet. And so again, we're going to teach you building blocks first of all, and then we actually are going to go to the grocery store later, kind of give you a few minute overview of just your typical spice aisle, because one thing that you can always see in the grocery store what food trends are, right? So the cereal aisle is a full aisle, right? And now all of a sudden spices, who used to be this tiny little segment in the baking section, are now half of a grocery store aisle, full of spices and different varieties of spices and different price points. And the thing is, how do you know what to pair with? How do you know how to choose, what to look for? So we're going to give you some tips while we're in the grocery store. But again, food trends. Look at the dairy aisle now. There used to just be a few different types of milk, 1%, 2%, and now the dairy case is just enormous. Soy and oats and all these things. Food trends really kind of dictate what grocery stores are doing. And so when you walk in and see this new spice section, clearly it's an important part of cooking. So my mom also has a lot of really, really great pre-prepared different spice blends.
Rubs. We found these when we lived in Seattle, and we have this amazing grocery store in Seattle, and I found these tucked in the little corner. This one is my favorite, the seafood rub. It's kind of like a mild curry, and it has some brown sugar in it, cumin, coriander. This stuff is great. They do a salmon rub. They do barbecue, steak, peri-peri.
Yeah. So the point of bringing these up to you is the idea is like, we want you to start learning how to do your own spice blends, because while these are great and very handy, they're also not personalized to your palate. What if you don't like spice? Or for instance, there's one thing that I'm not a huge fan of. Now, again, I'm never going to downplay anybody's taste preferences, and I'm never going to say this is the way that it's better. A chef should never do that. A chef should always build on what it is that you like. The one thing that I'm not a fan of is dried thyme and dried basil, because it's the seeds and the flakes sometimes, you either get a bite and it's kind of unpleasant, or they get stuck in your teeth, or different things like that. So those I'm not particularly fond of. So creating my own spice blends, I can eliminate things that kind of turn me off, as well as the fact that these are very expensive. These are not cheap, and so if you want to create spice blends and create your own, it's far less expensive. And so when understanding how to build a spice rub or different things like this, the use of the Flavor Bible is great, because not only does it tell you what vegetables to pair, but it also tells what spices to pair. And so salmon is a great example. So many people love salmon. Such a common, great fish, but it's such a great vehicle for flavors. And so, babe, what's your brown? You love brown sugared salmon.
Maple syrup.
Mom, you're behind the camera. Tell us
I like it smoky.
Smoky, exactly. I like it a little bit with a little bit of citrus to it. You know, just a little bit of punch of acid, something citric to it. So again, it's such a great spice to have. And so, if you can start to build these flavors using your flavor Bibles and that resource and us as a resource, what you'll start to do is you'll get a piece of fish and you'll open up your spice cabinet and you'll see, you know I can, if I season this with paprika and I can season this with cardamom, different fun spices.
Question for you: do you think for salmon, if we wanted to combine something that, say, your mother and you and I would all like, do you think you could do a salmon with maybe a little bit of brown sugar or maple syrup with a little bit of something for smoke, like maybe smoked paprika and a little bit of orange zest?
Yeah, I mean, and that's that's the thing. That's one great thing about Janet is that, you know, she does most of the cooking in our house at home, and her flavor profiles are amazing. And she's all of these suggestions that she just rattled off are things that she's done before and she knows about. If you're beginning and just getting used to the spice blending and the idea, that's when the flavor Bible is going to come in such handy to you. Because right now we can spew off great ideas, you know. But if you're new to the situation, if you're new to spices, you know, it's going to be brand new. So using that resource is also very important. Plus, what we were looking to do is we're going to put some spice blends up on our website. The link is down below. We're going to provide that for you. But also, we would love messages. We're going to put that on our Facebook and our Instagram page as well, where you can direct message us. We'll send you all this stuff.
And message us other ideas of what you'd like to see in upcoming shows, because we want that feedback from you guys. We want to know what it is that you're curious about, or even specific recipes or entertaining ideas. We'd love to help you out with any of that stuff.
Absolutely. So that's talking about spice blending. In the next episode, we're going to kind of really get specific, because everybody has their own spice blend. I think of one of the most commonly used spice blend. One is taco seasoning, right?
Sure.
You go to the grocery store and you buy that pre-packaged taco seasoning. There are things in there that you don't necessarily need. You know what I mean? Like some bisulfates and different things that are preservatives. By making your own spice blends, you can control the amount of curry or amount of cumin that you use, or the amount of chili powder that you use if you don't like spice. And again, by just practicing these flavors, and by using what resources you have to understand flavors, it's going to be great. Now, a couple key tips. Whenever you're using dried spices, those always go in at the start of the cooking process, because they need to have their time to slowly release their flavors and develop. You don't want to cook a piece of fish all the way through and then at the end dust it with some seasoning. It's going to be too harsh. The flavor's not going to be able to really develop, and you're not going to be able to have that end result that you really want. So again, when you're spicing things, start that off at the beginning of the process. So those oils and fats is what really kind of releases that flavor into your food. That's key number one. Key number two is, and I've seen this so many times when they're people season food, especially cooks in my kitchen. Whenever they season their food, they're seasoning right down, or they're getting very, very close to their food. And what that's doing is that's getting little small clumps of seasoning in one area, not evenly distributing your seasoning. When you season from up high. So it kind of just had that snow effect where it just kind of all evenly covers your whatever you're cooking. And again, you're going to get a much even spice distribution. It's going to be a lot more flavor. So you're not going to get little bites of everything.
Think of it as showering
your food with seasoning. And then what we're going to do is, in the grocery store, we're going to talk about how to choose spices, because again, there's so many different varieties out there. There's there's organic and there's regular, and then there's the classic McCormick. And there, again, spices are all about the flavor profiles, and we'll go into that. But one thing, this is the big thing that I wanted to talk about in the show today, is that we want, as cooks and chefs, we have an obligation to our ingredients to get the very most out of them as we can. So we need to coax as much flavor out of a peppercorn or out of a piece of stalk of lemongrass as we can. And so what I want to do tonight is just show you briefly something that's really, really important, especially to me. So we went to the store, and a couple of really common spices that people tend to use a lot because they're really popular is cumin, right? Cumin's a spice that's used so much, whether it's in Latin cuisine, or even, you know, African style cuisine as well, which is my favorite. But also, you know, think about it. If you had chili without cumin, I mean, it just wouldn't be chili.
Right.
And so oftentimes we walk by the best part of the cumin, and then we go in and we buy the powdered stuff. If you are able, this is coriander, which is basically the seedlings or the seeds from a cilantro coriander plant.
I never knew that until I met him. He taught me that cilantro comes from coriander seeds.
Yeah.
And if you plant these in a little bit of potting soil and water it, it'll turn into cilantro.
Yeah, and again, a lot of cilantro, sometimes it doesn't mesh with people's body chemistry. So if cilantro, when you eat cilantro, if it tastes like soap, it's not going to have the same, it's not going to be the same with coriander. It's still it's giving you that nice flavorful. It's not going to taste like soap. There's an oil in the actual cilantro plant. So whole seeds, if you can find them, of your favorite spices are really the best way to go, because we get to do a little chefing with just something as simple as a seed. And Mom, you want to flip around? So we're so excited. That laugh is. This is my mom, Mary.
I'm here to taste.
We are actually in her kitchen. This is her beautiful kitchen, and we're so excited to be here. So I wanted to show one thing that my dad is a huge fan of, is pepper. Dad loves pepper.
Yes.
And so many I think it's a palate killer sometimes. But what I did was I went to the grocery store today, and we bought some peppercorns, and actually we bought it in a pepper grinder just like this. I wanted to kind of show the what happens when we apply just a little bit of effort and a little bit of heat. So I have some whole black peppercorns, put them in a saute pan, and then I also have some whole coriander seeds, which I'm going to put in the saute pan. And also one other thing that is, in my opinion as a chef, the most underutilized spice in our cabinet is nutmeg. And oftentimes we see nutmeg only in the holidays, but really this is what an actual clove of nutmeg looks like.
Oh, it smells so good.
Yes.
Does it smell good?
It's got this umami flavor. So I'm going to throw this in, and I'm going to throw these into a 300-degree oven for just a couple of minutes.
My kitchen's
Smells
gonna
like
smell.
the holidays.
I know it's gonna smell really good in here. I'm excited.
So anytime I teach cooking classes, I love to use the phrase, if I can, I should. So that means a little extra effort goes such a long way. So instead of just serving ground pepper out of a little tin that says ground pepper, where the pepper has been ground for me, I have no idea the quality of the peppercorn. If I can additives, right? If I can do just a little extra, then why shouldn't I? If I can make my pepper that much more amazing, or if I can make my coriander seeds that much more amazing, why wouldn't I?
And that's especially key right now as we're approaching the holidays too, because you want to take a little more effort during the holidays. Make your food just step it up just a little bit. And
now's the time of year where all of the great spices that are considered the warm spices, cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, cardamom, all of these things all come in pods, whether it's little cardamom pods or cinnamon sticks or little seeds. That means not only is it going to make our houses and our homes smell better, but it's going to make our food tastes that much better.
And I was just going to say, is it my imagination or am I smelling it already?
You're not. I mean, it happens right away. So again, just with just a small application of just a little bit of heat, just doing a little bit extra, it's amazing what we're gonna have. So what I have here today, and we're gonna show you some cool kitchen things to have, and eventually we'll give you some links where it's the best deal. We're not going to try and ever sell you anything or push any products in this. We're just kind of trying to show you best practices. Now, one thing that I always have in my chef kit is my spice grinder. This is technically just a coffee grinder. I use this almost every day. You can kind of smell. There's so many different things going on in here. So many different smells because I love to grind my spices. And then what that does is that just gives it a whole new level. Now, when it comes down to this, get one that has this removable head here. So you can take it out, you can wash it. It's actually dishwasher safe, you can put it in the dishwasher. I wouldn't recommend doing that because right now I have all the remnants of these great spices on the bottom. And so what I do after I'm done a particular spice, just to get rid of the excess stuff on the bottom, I throw a piece of old bread in there and just pulse that. And what will happen is that bread will soak up all those little extra remnants of spice. It will clean out your grinder, and it will still leave that essence of flavor in there. You can smell. The last thing I did was a smoked sea salt in there because my thing still smells a little smoky.
Smells smoky.
Oh, nice.
It smells great.
So again,
yeah.
one more.
Smells like it was washed with liquid smoke.
One more thing that we're going to always talk about in these classes that's so vital in the kitchen is using all of your senses. It's not just about
that's
tasting.
gonna be great. That's gonna be fun.
It's not just about touch. It's not just about taste. It's not just about sight. It's also about you want to smell. You know, we're gonna in a minute. You start to smell the peppercorns.
Texture.
Texture is another thing. You know what I mean? Really kind of looking at things. And also the other day we were watching one of our favorite shows to watch on Netflix is the Great British Baking Show. If you're not watching it, honestly, do yourself a favor and jump on and take a look. It's a great show. But there was this young cook. Probably what? It's Peter. He's probably
Peter. Oh, we love Peter.
Young 20s.
Peter, if you watch, it would make our day.
Peter, are you listening?
You're brilliant, Peter. We love you. But he showed us something. His grandmother taught him about cakes. And you need to listen to your cake. So anytime, so often we stick a little skewer in there, and if it comes out dry, that means our cake is done. But Peter, what he showed us is by listening to the cake, if you still hear liquid in there, if you hear like steam.
Well, that only makes sense, yeah.
So, and he's like, as soon as that stops, you know your cake is perfect. And so again, it's all of using all of your senses in the kitchen. And we're going to teach you how to do that. We're going to get you, not only teach you about that, we're going to get you excited about that. Oh.
We did that the other night at my mom's house. We made a gluten-free orange pound cake, and we took it out of the oven and we put it down and we said,
let's
listen to it like Peter does.
So you will tell us a story?
Okay, so right now we have these peppercorns that have just been toasted just for a few minutes, 350-degree oven. Again, so many people. Jake, what's the best oven temperature? 350 is ideal temperature for most.
Well, now how much can you put in the pan?
You can honestly you can fill that entire thing,
and then it saves.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, again, one thing to remember is that you don't want to do too much, because when you toast your spices, you release their oils and you release that best essence, but it doesn't stay as long as a spice that's not toasted.
Okay.
So again, just kind of do it as you need it if you can, and go a few days, maybe a couple days ahead or something like that. But again, we're just gonna put.
Well, it wouldn't take that much time if you've got something like this.
Not at all. And then, honestly, at the restaurants where I'm the chef, because I'm so adamant about them using pepper, they will toast their peppercorns and grind them every single day. So we're doing it fresh. So we have the best pepper. So. So this is one of my favorite parts of all of talking about spices and peppers, because people think they know. Yeah, it's gonna get you. People think they know what great fresh pepper, but until you've had it.
Oh wow!
Now again, we can continue to grind and make it smaller. But yeah. Anyway, we're gonna pepper spray us off.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah. But again,
it's exciting the dog here.
Yeah, Maggie's here.
Hi, Maggie.
But again, all of a sudden we got this beautiful pepper flavor, and when you season your food with fresh ground pepper, I mean, honestly, there's nothing better.
What do you think?
Maggie's here.
Maggie?
I don't want to get her
It's
close.
exciting. Even the dog's getting excited.
Girl.
That's great. Well, that smells like fresh. Wonderful. So would you use as much then with fresh as you would with...
That's an excellent question, Mom. See, I'm so glad you guys are here. See, now, in the grocery store, these were actually side by side with ground coriander.
Yeah.
These are slightly more expensive to get the whole seeds, but you get twice as much out of
when you grind it up.
When you grind it up. So again, this is the average pepper shaker. By grinding it and doing it ourselves, this will last you a very, very long time. And so, if you want to just almost toast the entire thing, put it back in your grinder.
Oh, okay.
That will work too. So
if my recipe calls for a teaspoon of pepper, ground pepper, would I still use a teaspoon, or would I do
again?
half?
See, I'm so glad you're here. That's also an excellent question. When it comes, and the more and more that we cook with each other, and the more you cook with me particularly, you'll see that I do not use a lot of salt, nor do I use a lot of pepper.
Right.
Just because I like getting my seasoning from other ways, whether it's naturally, because everything that has its own amount of natural salt. So we're going to do what's called reduction, which is, basically reducing, getting rid of all the water. But when we toast peppercorns, we're concentrating the flavor by actually removing the water, removing the excess water, drying it out. That's what makes it so fragrant and so great. So again, I would still use the same amount of pepper. But what it's going to do is it's not going to necessarily overpower with pepper flavor, but it's just going to give it a little extra punch.
Okay. Yeah, I can tell. That's great.
But you'll see when we get into our cooking segments, I really hope you feel the same way because pepper, in my opinion, is a very, very harsh flavor. And there's ways to get pepper flavor that I call that's more sophisticated. And in fact, one of the things that's a little bit more sophisticated is actually nutmeg. So nutmeg... you have a microplane.
Yes, I do. There you go. So, did you toast that
The nutmeg?
I did.
Oh,
yeah, I just threw it in the oven for just a minute. And again, when you smell nutmeg,
yes,
nutmeg that's ground, that's in just your.
Look at it. It's
yeah,
even
it looks like a little.
changed
Looks like a little acorn almost.
Oh, it did.
It doesn't. Fresh nutmeg just smells absolutely nothing like the dried stuff that you get in the grocery store.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm just gonna.
Oh my gosh, look at it.
Oh, yes.
So nutmeg.
Let's smell. Oh, wow, it sure does make a difference.
my
That's
gosh,
a
it's so
total
good.
difference.
But
Look at the
with the
inside of that.
smell and the pungent, pungent aroma, it's
There's
wonderful.
a flavor profile called umami. It basically is earthy. It's all the flavors together, kind of that. This is fresh nutmeg in soups, on mushrooms. If you love roasted mushrooms, if you're only putting salt and pepper, you're doing a major disservice to yourself because nutmeg it just gives it so much earthy, amazing
I
flavor.
would think it would just give it like umami overload on mushrooms.
It makes it just super earthy. And again, nutmeg is oftentimes I use it in the restaurant as a replacement for pepper. It's such it's much. I think it's like pepper wearing a fancy tuxedo.
Wow.
It's like sophisticated and classy. It still gives you that nice bright peppery note. And again, one of these little nutmegs will last you a very long time.
they do last a long
and
time.
it's nothing like, and nor is
amazing,
fresh
the
ground
smell.
pepper. It's nothing like the stuff that you get in the grocery store. All right, and finally, the last thing is the coriander that we did. Coriander is one of my favorite spices.
Me too, because I love cilantro. I'm one
I
of
do
those.
too.
You
I could bathe in cilantro. I love it so much.
All right, so
Me too.
again, coriander seeds. They're just such a beautiful, bright.
And that was just how long you had them in the oven?
About 5-10 minutes.
Just so you could just easy to do.
Yep.
No.
Now the reason why I chose these two in particular is because nutmeg and coriander, to me, are another substitute for pepper. Coriander, it has a light little citrus note to it. It's kind of almost sweet, but yet that pepper umami flavor is there and is present.
Oh,
That's good.
oh wow! You just can't beat that. That smells like nothing like when you take a jar of already ground up stuff from the grocery store. It's
amazing.
Yeah.
So, and all we've done, and
Doesn't
we
smell
could go through the entire gamut of spices. We could have done cumin seed. We could have done pink peppercorn. We could have done so many different things, and the reaction that you would have would be exactly the same. Wow. Okay, I had no idea. With just a little bit of effort.
Yeah, it is a wow. It is a wow. It really is.
Yeah, and
the fragrance is totally amazing.
It's so strong.
And,
yes.
And one thing too, if you were to open up in the Flavor Bible, I know this for a fact because I've looked it up. I don't know if it's necessarily the same. Babe, would you look it up?
Sure.
For me?
What am I looking at?
You're looking up nutmeg.
Nutmeg. Okay.
So many people just think, okay, nutmeg is only for desserts, right? You're only
Pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie,
French toast.
But you're with nutmeg, like this and prepared like this, you'll see things like ham and turkey and different types of sea bass, because this great
broccoli, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, cheese, custards, eggs, fruit, lamb, mutton, pasta, potatoes, pumpkin, raisins, ricotta.
Right. So we have different things that we haven't, we've never thought of before. But again,
veal.
Last time I'll say it: if you can do it, you should. If you have that little extra time to toast your peppercorns, a little extra time to toast your spices, you're going to get a much better result.
It's too bad they can't smell this.
Yeah, smell-o-vision would be fun.
Yeah, smell-o-vision would be fun because it really is amazing. It makes a big difference.
Yeah. Well, I think we've covered a good fair amount of, we don't want to overload you on your first day. One thing we're going to really focus on next week is the idea of putting the spices together, making those blends, and we're also going to season a piece of fish together and really show you how to cook with these spices with an actual product. But all I wanted to do this first show is get you excited about these references. Flavor Bible, Culinary Artistry. Get one of those and take a look and start really understanding how flavors work with each other. Spice blending will be, and again, we're going to get more in depth because it's not just spices that you can add to spice blending. You can get, if you have a food dehydrator, or you can use your microwave, you can add like dehydrated red peppers and green peppers to your taco seasoning mix. Or if you have a special steak seasoning that you love,
the dehydrated
blue cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna take you.
I'm so excited.
Mind blowing.
And we're also, one thing, every culture has its own spice blending together. One of my favorite things for lamb is this Syrian blend that combines cardamom and clove and things together, and that really give you some warmth. But we're gonna keep talking about just start to understand these combinations of flavors.
Maybe try your own hand at making your own spice blend. We would love to know what you like and what you put together and what you tried it on. So send us a message, drop us a line, comment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Again, we're so excited to be doing this. Again, this is our first time. We're going to keep working at this. We're going to give you some great content. The websites down below should have links to everything that you're going to need to learn more about who we are and what we're doing.
Stay tuned for more of In Mom's Kitchen with Jake and Jana and Mom.
We're going on a great adventure.
We're going on a great adventure. Thank